Welcome to the Asia Advantage series of webinars. This is Holger Darumöller of Dezan, Shira and Associates. Before we begin, allow me to introduce you to our firm. Dezan, Shira and Associates is a specialist foreign direct investment practice, providing business advisory, accounting, and tax and payroll services to companies investing in China, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, and the rest of emerging Asia. Currently, we have 20 offices in 5 jurisdictions and liaison offices in Italy and the United States. We were established in 1992 and celebrated our 20th anniversary last year. Today, I'm here with Ms. Gunjan Sinha, who is the country manager for India from our Delhi office. Today, she's going to present on the topic of payrolls in India. Ms. Gunjan Sinha has an expertise in corporate establishment, corporate structuring, and payroll. Now, Ms. Gunjan Sinha is going to take over the presentation.
Today, I will be talking about payroll processing systems in India. I would like to take you through the following agenda points. Indian Social Security System, laws and regulations of Social Security System, payroll, payroll salary, allowances, timelines, and the last point would be gratuity. India has a social security system unlike any developed nation in the world. Social security systems in large and diverse countries like India are bound to be complex. The India Social Security System provides retirement and insurance benefits for employees working in factories or other establishments covered by the system in India. The whole system is governed by the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 and the schemes made thereunder, namely the Employees Provident Fund (EPF) and the Employees Pension Scheme (EPS), the Employee Provident Fund Organization (EPFO), a statutory body established by the Government of India, administers the social security regulations in India. It has been broadly divided into 5 categories: pensions, health insurance, maternity, gratuity, disability. I will like to discuss all these now in turn. First, let's talk about pensions. Like most other developing countries, India does not have a universal social security system to protect the elderly against economic destitution. In the first step towards instituting pensions reforms, the Government of India moved from a defined benefit pension system to a defined contribution-based pension system. As we can see, there are 4 main types of pensions in India: pension upon superannuation or disability, widow's pension for death while in service, children's pension, and orphan's pension. In this slide, we will discuss the other components of the social security system. Probably, the most important section of the social security system in India is the medical and healthcare insurance. The Employees State Insurance Corporation of India (ESIC) is a multidimensional social security system tailored to provide social economic protection to the worker population and their dependents. It is a central body which takes care of the medical and health insurance in India. It is a unique health insurance and a social security plan as it offers total health care without any ceiling on individual expenditures. Total medical care is admissible from the first day of insurable employment. Insured people are also entitled to a variety of cash benefits in times of physical distress, which may be due to sickness and temporary or permanent disablement, resulting in the loss of earning capacity. It only applies to organizations which have 10 or more employees. Now, I would like to talk about maternity. Under the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, female workers are entitled to maternity benefits at the rate of average daily wage for the period of absence for a maximum period of 12 weeks, 6 weeks before delivery and 6 weeks after delivery. They can only claim this compensation if they have worked for the employer for at least 80 days within the last 12 months. Every woman shall be allowed to, and her employer shall be liable for, payment of a maternity benefit at the rate of the average daily wage for the period of actual absence immediately preceding and including the day of the delivery, and for 6 weeks immediately following that day. Gratuity. Gratuity is a scheme to pay gratuity to employees engaged in factories, mines, oil fields, plantations, ports, railway companies, shops, or other establishments. The Gratuity Act of 1972 requires the payment of 15 days of additional wages for each year of service to employees who have worked at a company for 5 years or more. It applies to those organizations that have 10 or more employees. We will discuss this in more detail in coming slides. Disability. The Workmen's Compensation Act of 1923 pertains to the workman or his/her family in cases of employment-related injuries resulting in death or disability. Workers employed in certain kinds of occupation are at a supposed risk of contracting certain kinds of diseases which are peculiar and inherent of those occupations. The worker contracting an occupational disease is deemed to have suffered an accident in course of employment, and the employer is liable to pay compensation for the same. To summarize, these are the laws and acts which pertain to the components of the Indian Social Security, which we have listed here for your convenience. The Employees State Insurance Act 1952. This act concerns factories and establishments for 10 or more employees. It covers medical care to employees and their families, cash benefits during sickness, maternity and monthly benefits in case of death and disablements. The Workmen's Compensation Act. This act contains workmen in case of injury or death during employment or duty. It covers workmen and his/her family in case of injury or death during the job employment. The Maternity Benefit Act. This act stipulates that every woman is entitled to a paid maternity leave which her employer is accountable for. It covers 12 weeks paid leave and wages from the employer. The Payment of Gratuity Act. This act contains companies who have 10 or more employees. It covers payment of 15 days of additional wages for each year of service to employee who worked at a company for 5 years. Now, we will give you an insight about the payroll structure in India. First of all, let me begin by saying that payroll is an extremely broad term. Payroll is a multifaceted process. During the process, the business evaluates and deducts government taxes like Social Security and individual income taxes from employees' salary. However, employees also have benefit plans like health insurance. This includes deductions of premiums from employees' salary according to employee customization and thus adds another layer of activity for payroll processing. Some companies create a separate department for payrolls only. Others make it a part of their human resource department, whilst others outsource it to third-party payroll processing services such as Dezan, Shira and Associates provides. Basically, payroll is the sum of all financial records of the salary for an employee, such as wages, bonuses, and deductions. In accounting, payroll refers to the amount paid to employees for services they provided during a certain period of time. One of the most significant functions of payroll is salary. Salary in India generally includes basic salary, encashment of leave salary, advance of salary, various allowances such as dearness allowance, entertainment allowance, house rent allowance, and also includes perquisites by way of free housing, free car, free schooling for children of employees, etc. However, it is important to note that dearness allowance only applies to government employees and officers and not to the private sector. As mentioned in the previous slide, there are many components of salary besides basic salary. These are called allowances. There are generally 8 types of allowances in Indian salary. We will discuss some of the basic allowances which are generally part of salary in India. Housing. In India, employees generally receive a house rent allowance, which is a part of the salary package in accordance with the terms and conditions of employment. The house rent allowance is given in order to meet the cost of the rent of a house taken by the employee for his stay. Entertainment. In India, entertainment tax is levied on every financial transaction that is related to entertainment, such as movie tickets, major commercial hubs, and big private festivals. Other forms of entertainment which are included in the purview of entertainment are amusement parks, video games, arcades, exhibitions, celebrity stage shows, and sport activities. A part of an employee's expenses on items and or services on which the entertainment tax is levied will be reimbursed by the employer up to a certain level, which then forms a part of the employee's overall salary. Transport. Transport payment provided to an employee for commuting between his residence and the place of his duty shall be exempted up to INR 800 per month, though in the case of blind or orthopedically handicapped employees, INR 1600 per month is exempt from tax. Education. Education payment of INR 100 per month per child for up to 2 children of the employee is exempted. In this slide, we will discuss about other allowances such as LTA, medical, meals, and special allowances. Leave Travel Assistance (LTA) is remunerated for meeting travel expenses incurred by an individual and also his/her family members. This includes only the spouse, 2 children, and dependent parents, brothers, and sisters, while on holiday in India. The amount of this allowance depends upon the mode and length of the journey and is available for 2 journeys. Medical. This includes a reimbursement of up to INR 15,000 for medical treatment of the employee and family members. It will reimburse expenditures incurred by the employee and the family members in approved hospitals, dispensaries, etc. Lunch and refreshment. Refreshments and lunch provided at work at free or concessional rates are not taxable. Special. In addition to those listed above, the subsequent allowances are exempt from tax. Office expenses incurred on transportation in the performance of office duties, cost of travel on tour or on transfer, daily ordinary charges incurred by the employee on account of absence from his normal place of duty during a tour, expenditure on a helper where such helper is engaged for the performance of duties of office, allowances granted for encouraging academic research and training pursuits in educational and research institutions, and expenditures incurred for the purchase of maintenance of a uniform to wear during the performance of the duties. This slide is about the timelines and presentation procedures of payroll reporting. I will now go through this slide in detail. In order to comply with the applicable Social Security and income tax laws, employers have to timely file the returns as required under the relevant acts. Under the Employees Provident Fund Act, a monthly return on every 15th of the following month has to be manually filed with the Provident Fund Department. Also, a consolidated annual return has to be filed on 30th April for all the contributions made during the year. Further, as per the applicable tax laws, it is mandatory to deduct taxes at the time of making the certain specific payments like rent or contractual payments, and thereafter it has to be deposited with the government department every month by 7th of the following month. Further, a consolidated return for every quarter has to be filed for taxes withheld, which needs to be paid into the government account. The same has to be filed by 15th of the month following the quarter. In case the Professional Tax Act is applicable on the company, then a monthly and quarterly return has to be filed. The Professional Tax Act is enacted at the state level and hence provisions for periodicity of return and due dates vary accordingly. On the part of the employee, it is expected that the annual return of income stating all the incomes earned from all the sources shall be filed by July 31st of the year following the year of assessment. Gratuity. In the previous slides, we have learnt about gratuity. In this slide, we will discuss gratuity in detail. Gratuity, as mentioned before, is an important function of the Indian social security system. It is basically a lump sum that a company pays when an employee leaves an organization and is one of the many retirement benefits offered by a company to an employee. Gratuity is paid when an employee reaches the time of superannuation, retiring at the age of 58, retires at any age, completes 5 years in a company, resigns, or passes away or is rendered disabled due to accident or illness. There are some important points about gratuity which need to be noted. First, the employer shall arrange to pay the amount of gratuity within 30 days from the day it becomes due to the person to whom the gratuity is payable to. If the amount under the section is not paid to the employee within the period specified from the date on which the gratuity becomes payable, you will have to pay simple interest on it and at the rate not exceeding the rate stipulated by the central government. Second, gratuity should be paid in cash or, if so desired by the payee, by demand draft or bank check to the eligible employee, nominee or legal heir. Forfeiture of gratuity. The gratuity payable to an employee shall be wholly forfeited if the services of such an employee have been terminated for his lawless or disorderly conduct or any other act of violence on his part. The service of such an employee is terminated for any act which constitutes an offence involving moral turpitude, provided that such offence is committed by him in the course of his employment. Also, it is important to know that in order to forfeit the gratuity of an employee, there must be a termination order containing charges which establish that the employee was guilty of any of the aforementioned misconducts. In one case, it has been ruled that in the absence of termination order containing any of the above allegations, gratuity to an employee cannot be forfeited. This last slide is giving you an overview of the payroll management process. This is quite a detailed chart which I will explain now in brief. The payroll management process starts with the collection of payroll data by the Human Resource Department or from external agencies in case the payroll process has been outsourced. The data shall include salary structure, leave record, evidence for investments made to claim exemption and likewise. Upon receiving the data, they have to be verified for their authenticity before they are being accepted for further processing. As soon as the authenticity of the master report is verified, all the relevant data is sent to the HR manager for approval. In case the payroll management process is outsourced, the final master report prepared earlier is shared with the client for their consideration and approval. The client needs to diligently review the master report and, after necessary changes, the final version of master report is sent back for processing. Then, the HR department prepares the data to be processed for the payment of salaries. The said report includes employees' bank account details and the amount of salary to be paid. Further, the master data file is used to prepare individual pay slips to be made available for every employee, and it includes the breakup of final amount disbursed. Salary slips are shared either at the end or after the date salaries are disbursed. In order to comply with applicable laws, the calculated amount of tax is deducted from the salaries and a report is prepared in order to deposit the tax in the government account. In order to update the internal accounts of the company, the final data of the salary and payroll is uploaded into the ERP system of the company through a relevant ledger account. At the end of the process, the final report, including the details of the amount of salary disbursed, the deductions made, and the deducted taxes, is shared with the internal accounting team of the company. Finally, the HR department prepares a customized report for analysis by the management.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Asia Advantage series of webinars with Ms. Gunjan Sinha, the Country Manager of India from our Delhi office. If you have any additional questions about today's webinar, please feel free to connect with Ms. Gunjan Sinha at gunjan.sinha@dezan.com. That is GUNJAN.SINHA@DEZSHIRA.com. To help our listeners to better understand the topic of doing business in China, India, and Vietnam, Dezan Shira and Associates publishes a plethora of helpful business guides, periodic magazines, and other business-oriented resources. One helpful publication pertaining to today's podcast is the India Briefing publication of June 2012. For more information about business and regulatory news, please visit our website at www.asiabriefingmedia.com or follow us on our Twitter page at Asia Briefing or at Dezan Shira or on our Facebook page. This webinar was produced by Asia Briefing Media for Dezan Shira and Associates at www.dezshira.com. That's DEZSHIRA.com. Thank you very much.